What if I told you that a 20-year-old Filipino girl just made Roger Federer cry on live television? It wasn't a fleeting moment of tears that he dismissed with a joke, not in a metaphorical sense. I mean, sobbing in front of 37 million people while clutching his face in his hands and shaking his shoulders. One of the most composed and successful athletes in human history, completely wrecked. And the reason, a contract, a figure so absurd that at first I genuinely thought it was an error. Nike offered $3 billion for Alexandra Eala Alex, as she is known to her fans who have been riding with her since before her name was even known. $3 billion is guaranteed. The whole deal increases to $7.2 billion over a 15-year period, including royalties, stock holdings, and performance bonuses. The largest deal ever signed by an athlete, male or female, in any sport. Somewhere in Portland, Oregon, Roger Federer was watching the announcement when something inside of him broke. This is the story of how one signature ignited a revolution. Just 18 months ago, Alex was ranked 139th in the world. This isn't exactly obscurity, but it's also not a name you'd recognize. She was the kind of player analyst who is described with terms like promising and one to watch, which basically means we don't expect much in tennis commentary. To understand where she is now, you must first understand where she was. You may see why Federer's tears made perfect sense after reading this. The ceiling they set for her might be in the top 70 if everything went as planned. Her future was not going to be the focus of a Netflix documentary. Then, in March 2025, Alex Eala showed up on the Miami Open court as though she had something to prove to everyone. She was not merely the victor of a match. She caused people to crumble. Clara discarded herself. Madison Keys disappeared in front of American viewers on American soil. The Filipino fans in the grandstand made Hard Rock Stadium look more like a World Cup final than a tennis court as former Grand Slam champion Oapino was demolished in straight sets. The next match was the one that made everyone stop scrolling. Everyone expected the reigning champion to win the championship. Lost in straight sets to a 20-year-old who seemed to be enjoying himself. Commentators were at a loss for words. Analysts were ignoring her and silently deleting old tweets. TV viewership increased by 340% each time Alex took the court. Somehow, 17,000 persons were crammed into arenas meant for 12,000 people, all eager to watch this girl succeed once more. However, corporate leaders stood up more than any rating could because of this. She was winning, but that wasn't all. It was what happened all around her when she did. Her simple presence in a place has measurable beneficial benefits on entire local economies, not from a superstar who has won 10 Grand Slams. Hotels near tournament locations sold out within hours of her advancement, and restaurants near stadiums reported income increases of over 200%. From a 20-year-old who is still developing. Nike's research team was closely monitoring everything. This was a subsequent release that completely altered people's perceptions. After Miami, Nike didn't begin to pursue Alex. They were already monitoring her before to all of this. According to internal documents that we shall reveal, Nike's Asia-Pacific division identified her as a priority target as early as July 2024, which drastically changed the story. In the Filipino diaspora alone, there are 115 million potential clients. Nike's traditional American and European-focused approach was unable to keep up with the quick expansion of Asian markets. Additionally, Alex was a contemporary cultural phenomenon rather than only a tennis player. She was more active on Instagram than LeBron James, and her products sold faster than Ronaldo's during the busiest time of year. Her popularity went beyond crossover. She was in a very different situation. Consequently, when Nike finally authorized what they were developing in those private, covert discussions that followed Miami, they weren't writing a sponsorship agreement. They were announcing how the money will be used in the future. $3 billion in guaranteed performance bonuses that could result in an extra $4 billion in ownership in Nike subsidiary companies, as well as lifetime royalties on her signature line. The overall potential value is $7.2 billion in 15 years. The math was amazing. Before Alex cashes a single prize check, her guaranteed Nike deal alone is 31 times the $95 million that Serena Williams collected over her career. Federer's lifetime Nike endorsement is believed to be worth $300 million. Alex's deal might be 24 times larger, yet she is rated 29th in the world. She hasn't won a Grand Slam yet. The announcement was made at Nike's Portland headquarters on February 28, 2026. 63 countries sent cameras. Journalists speculated about new Air Jordans, eco-friendly initiatives, and perhaps a men's tennis signing. No one even approached. When Alex walked through those doors wearing distinctive Nike prototype clothes in the colors of the Philippine flag, everyone in the room recognized that something exceptional was happening. When Nike CEO Elliott Hill took the stage, his first remarks hit like a freight train. More money is now invested in female athletes by Nike than by any other company in its history. The room erupted. Alex sat beside him, tears streaming down her cheeks and her hands trembling as she held the contract display. Her voice was tremulous when she spoke. This wasn't just about money, she explained. The goal was to demonstrate that women's tennis should be given the same financial respect. Asian athletes should have been at the top. That the Philippines produces champions worthy of praise from throughout the world. That was the narrative for about 48 hours. Gorgeous, groundbreaking, and historic. Things got more complicated after Roger Federer and Patrick McEnroe spoke on ESPN. Like any other interview, it started. A preview of Indian Wells, tournament favorites, and the typical pleasant conversation about tennis. McEnroe was relaxed. Federer looked slick. No one expected anything unusual despite the 37 million watchers. Then McEnroe asked about Alex's contract. Federer's face changed. You could see it in real time. The jaw stiffened and the eyes changed. He tried not to lose his cool. He tried really hard, but he couldn't. He covered his face. His shoulders shook. The man who had maintained composure over 20 Grand Slam finals, injury comebacks, and a retirement that made everyone cry was now sitting in an ESPN booth, sobbing hysterically on international television. McEnroe froze. Backstage, the producers were in a frenzy. #Federer weeping became the most popular trend globally in less than 90 seconds. When Federer did speak, it was without jealousy. It wasn't animosity. It was more unrefined and uncomfortable than either of those things. Statistically impossible, or Nike has always had the resources to reach bigger deals, but they choose not to pay them and convinced each player that what they were receiving was already the best they could get. I now realize how much money Nike made using my name, even though they claimed that giving me $300 million throughout my lifetime was generous, he said, looking directly into the camera and making a statement about their sponsors that no well-known athlete had ever made in public. He then congratulated Alex, claimed that she made them show their actual hands. After declaring that everyone could now see the music they were hiding, he departed the stage. The ensuing weeks were among the most chaotic and illuminating in sports media history. LeBron James tweeted that every player should watch that interview 3 times. While acknowledging that Federer's pain was real, Serena Williams offered a more nuanced answer to Cristiano Ronaldo's 2-word remark, "Truth hurts." She pointed out that women have endured the same underpayment for far longer than any male athlete. From our reality, greetings. The internet quickly became polarized. Many people totally supported Federer, arguing that his openness demanded genuine guts. That even if you've profited from a system, it's harder than it looks to admit your participation in it. Some people didn't like it. According to viral threads, Federer made $300 million and was now complaining about exploitation, while WNBA players made an average of $120,000 a year and struggled for basic amenities. They argued that Federer's insight was everyone else's everyday reality that was only realized 40 years too late when it finally struck someone who resembled him. The music received harsh criticism, with columns accusing him of weaponizing social justice language to cover up personal jealousy. Radio hosts debated whether Alex's tears were a genuine awakening or a cunning ploy to make his moment about himself. The defenses were as passionate, musically. Federer, according to many who thought companies had been routinely stifling athlete earnings for decades, had just given that argument its most prominent face. No one could agree completely. And while everyone was arguing with him, Alex remained silent. No postings, no interviews. The management only issued a brief statement of appreciation. That was interpreted as wisdom by some. Why get embroiled in a debate over male athlete compensation when you've just made history? Others found it irritating. Her platform was enormous. Her silence felt like a missed opportunity. Before the email surfaced, Nobody knew how complicated the situation was. Sports Illustrated published 14 months' worth of confidential Nike communications on March 5. The first email was issued in July 2024, before Miami and any noteworthy results for Alex. In a letter to the executive committee, Nike's Asia-Pacific marketing director described Alex as a unique chance for market penetration. Filipino diaspora, crossover demographics, and the growth of Asian consumers. It was recommended to actively seek her out before competitors learned of her beliefs. They made no bets on her future. They already knew what they had. The second email was worse. November 2026. Nike's legal team is requesting financing for Federer's contract, which expires in 2027. His commercial value is declining by 18% annually in the 18 to 35 age range. Promote a strategic change in favor of younger, more diverse ambassadors. He was being phased out already. He did not react to Alex's accomplishment with his sad TV performance. Unbeknownst to him, the replacement plan he was examining had been in progress for almost a year. In the third email, the entire transaction was approved. Nike CEO, January 2025. No athlete is being signed. For the past 20 years, we have been unable to obtain certain demographics. The crowd went silent when such statement was made because it seemed that the $3 billion was a plan to enter Asian markets rather than a message about gender justice. Alex was the vehicle, not the point. It was undeniable that she possessed a true talent. The money wasn't coming in, though, because Nike had unintentionally discovered equal pay principles. However, it was flowing because market research showed that it would be profitable. Filipino groups that had celebrated the deal felt a shift in the floor. Was this how Alex's excellence was recognized? Or was Nike finally profiting off an ethnic identity that they had ignored for 20 years? Federer's emotions also took on a new meaning. Was he experiencing pay exploitation? Or was he a white European athlete facing the disturbing reality that his demographic no longer demanded the same premium in a world where companies followed Asian consumer dollars? Nobody came out unharmed. Not Nike, not the narrative, not song, not the celebrations. Alex then posted a 12-minute video from her home in Manila. There was no production crew, PR handler, music, or script. Just her, a phone camera, and a Philippine national team shirt. By the time she made her introductory remarks, the internet was completely silent. Even though I knew exactly what Nike was doing, I still took their money. There was no warm-up or easing in. She recognized everything. The emails that were published were accurate. Nike sought her for demographic access rather than a moral commitment to gender parity. Federer was correct when he stated that businesses have been intentionally limiting athlete compensation for decades. Everything was accurate. Then she said something that cut through the din of the past 2 weeks. She said she didn't care that Nike had paid her $3 billion. She was worried that every agency negotiating on behalf of a female athlete had documented evidence of the money's existence. The ceiling was never genuine. Now there is evidence. Asian athletes can now cite her deal when someone